Back-to-back sweeps. The Blue Jays suck, and Orelvis Martinez decides to use PEDs, so pile on the mountain of crap.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube or the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedonmlb and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit matchup to $100. I'm Brayden Wasco. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Brayden5Wasco, Carter First too, as well on TikTok and Instagram at Locked On Blue Jays. Drop a subscription if you're new here on YouTube. We have noticed that a lot of you guys aren't subscribed. Really helps us out, keeps us at the top of your guys' page. And we still got that announcement coming. It just is taking what feels like 9 years. But we got some stuff to go over today. Orelvis Martinez gets caught with PEDs. The Blue Jays get swept for the second time in a row. And we got a series preview against one of the teams that has already swept the Toronto Blue Jays. So, Carter, I don't know. I guess let's start with Orelvis Martinez. I'm going to go over sort of what happened first here. Then I want to get your reactions, and then we'll get into all of the sweep stuff. So, Orelvis Martinez, Blue Jays, quite high prospect, just got into games this weekend, gets caught using PEDs. And I have the actual, what it's called here, whatever. It's a word. It's a drug, whatever. He does say, we wanted to keep this matter private, even within our family, and the trusted doctor who assessed us. This treatment did not include performance-enhancing drugs. Therefore, I made a mistake of not disclosing this to my team or the MLBPA. He did say that it was, they were taking this drug, I guess, to help they wanted to try to start a family. So in some sort of case, this drug helps, I guess, something there. I didn't go too far into it. I wasn't going to look up drugs and what they do, but that's what he says. 22-year-old prospect trying to start a family, and I guess this was in one of these products that they were using, and he gets caught with that, and now he's suspended 80 games from the MLB. This is, and it is what it is. Orelvis Martinez probably not going to play the entire season as a Toronto Blue Jay anyway, but I think it's the fact that things are bad right now for the Toronto Blue Jays, to say the least. And this just seems to be piling on. It just seems that one thing after another continues to not go the Blue Jays' way. So, Carter, on this whole PED stuff, I know we always have the conversation every time PEDs are brought up about the Barry Bonds and should he be in the Hall of Fame? Should he not be in the Hall of Fame? And people have very different views. In this case, I guess let's start with, how do you feel about Orelvis's 80-game suspension?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, we had a nice second overall prospect for the team. It'd be a shame if you just decide not to play the next 80 games of the season. Hey, he's going to be back for game 157, so that's kind of cool. We'll see the last maybe 5 games of Orelvis Martinez for the season. But the drug's name is clomiphene. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. I'm glad you didn't even take a shot at that. I think it would have been an interesting statement from you there with your pronunciation. But it seems like a domino effect for the Toronto Blue Jays. You think you can't get more down on the Toronto Blue Jays after a sweep by the Boston Red Sox. Then you get swept by the Cleveland Guardians. You find out your number 2 prospect in the system is going to be suspended for 80 games for a team that just, again, isn't hitting very well. A guy that you were hoping that could be put in this lineup as a spark plug and try to hit home runs, hit for power. And he goes 1 for 3 on his first day. It is what it is. But then you don't get to see him for the rest of the season. So that's obviously not going to be good for his development. You need these young guys to be playing baseball. And I don't know, it's a fertility drug. You'd think that you're 22 years old and you're in the MLB, you're probably in the top 1% of being in shape, of just human beings in general. Again, there might be more going on behind the scenes there, but just a dumb thing. He's taking some accountability here, obviously, but I don't care about the accountability. I was kind of first off, when I heard this news, I thought it might be one of those things that like his trainer was like giving him supplements. He wasn't really asking questions. It might have been one of those things. But just based off the statements he's kind of came out with, it seems like he knew about this the entire time. He knew that he was doing something wrong and he continued to do it anyway. I have some statements from the Toronto Blue Jays, just other people like in the organization. So I'll read the statement from the club here. So it says the Toronto Blue Jays fully support Major League Baseball's joint drug prevention and treatment program and strongly believe in keeping the game on a level playing field. We are both surprised and disappointed to learn of Orelvis Martinez's suspension. We will do everything in our power to ensure Orelvis has learned from this mistake. Orelvis has our support, and we know he will get through this. I'm not taking a ton away there. Like, what else are you going to say about the matter? Yeah, you can't use steroids, you can't use performance enhancing drugs. It's a crazy concept, believe it or not. I think at this point, you know what? Like for the Toronto Blue Jays' sake, just say screw that like PEDs. Let's get everyone on performance enhancing drugs. Like Aaron Judge is on pace for like 50 home runs. Let's just see him hit a million. Screw it. Like, just let everyone can use whatever they want. People will be throwing 110 off the mound. Home runs are going to go 550 feet. I think that'd be a lot more fun to watch, especially from a Blue Jays perspective. But yeah, it's a tough situation. I wanted to see Orelvis Martinez obviously play a lot more for this Toronto Blue Jays team. But yeah, we unfortunately, like everything else good for the Toronto Blue Jays, we get everything good that's taken away from us. So I'm just going to kind of leave it at that. I mean, it's a tough scenario. I don't really have much more to comment on it. Just don't use performance enhancing drugs. And yeah, just another domino that is falling in a negative way for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's not much to say on it. It seems like a very preventable situation. These guys are all given a very thorough rundown on what they can and can't use, and it's asking questions. That's part of your job. You're a professional baseball player. You got to know what you can and can't be using. Um, I don't know. It just seems a little bit inexcusable for me. And whatever stuff happens sometimes. Andrew Harris, ex Winnipeg Blue Bomber, went through sort of the same thing where it was, didn't really realize that something he was taking wasn't blah, blah, blah. I don't care. You're given a rundown. You should know, you should be able to ask questions. I think this is just crap. But yeah, it just seems like everything seems to be piling on the Toronto Blue Jays. And I think that leads us into the sweep that for the second time in a row, they get swept by the Boston Red Sox. And then this weekend, they get swept by the Cleveland Guardians. And I mean, I don't know, Carter, game 1, 7-1 Guardians, game 2, 6-3 Guardians, game 3, 6-5 Guardians. I mean, it's you're not scoring 6 runs. How do you expect to win a baseball game in the first 2 games, putting up 4 runs combined? And then, yeah, this past game yesterday was 6-5. It was an okay game, but most of your production came from Spencer Horwitz, a guy who hasn't played with this club for pretty much all year. And he gave you the best shot to win a baseball game. The whole thing just sucks. There's nowhere to go from here other than up, I feel. So yeah, they could go in against the Red Sox, which we'll get into next series, and win 1 game. And we're thinking, wow, okay, nice. We actually won a baseball game, because it feels like for an entire week, this team hasn't been able to do that.
Well, they haven't been able to do that. It's 6 straight, obviously. The biggest losing streak of the Toronto Blue Jays season. And I'm just going to start it with the pitching. Yusei Kikuchi probably had his worst outing of the entire year. He looked absolutely terrible. This looked like 2022 Yusei Kikuchi. The command it was like he was throwing strikes, but he was throwing literally everything over the middle of the plate. I don't care if it's 97. I don't care if it's 110 over the middle of the plate. Like, you can't give teams like this free passes at just launching baseballs, especially when they're good like the Cleveland Guardians. Just going over Kikuchi's stat line: 2 innings pitched, 8 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. Yeah, it didn't matter if it was the fastball, the curveball, whatever it was directly over the middle. And obviously he paid for it, giving up a ton of hits, a ton of hard contact. You just obviously can't do that, right? And the Blue Jays, you pay for it early on in the game. They score 4 runs, and then Bowden Francis allows some more runs as well. You get down just way too early, and it's something that this offense just can't overcome. You need Yusei Kikuchi to perform, and he's simply just not done that. Like, just going over his last 7 games, he has a 6.32 ERA over 31 and a third innings pitched, 44 hits, 22 earned runs, giving up a whip of 1.72. For a guy that is starting to look like he's going to be the biggest piece that the Toronto Blue Jays are probably going to end up trading at the trade deadline, the way the season is going, you kind of want him to have his value going up, not going down. And he's getting worse and worse, it seems like, every single start. these last few games just have not been good for Yusei Kikuchi. 2 innings pitched, 4 innings pitched, 5 innings pitched, a lot of runs given up. Again, you look at it from the season from a broad perspective, he still only has a 4 ERA. That's not bad. If you would have told me at the start of the season, Yusei Kikuchi was going to throw for a 4 ERA, probably would have taken it, but it just sucks that the guy started off so hot. He's starting to lose his command a little bit here. He's starting to not hit his spots, and that is what made Yusei Kikuchi so good, is he was picking corners. He has disgusting stuff, but when you're hanging around the middle of the plate against a good Cleveland Guardians team, having Steven Kwan, who's on the loose, might hit 400 this season. Jose Ramirez is one of the most RBIs in the entire American League. Josh Naylor, obviously, is just raking baseballs. David Fry's another good guy on the Guardians. You're playing with a lot of fire, and obviously it got to the Toronto Blue Jays in this game.
Yeah, and you know what? There was some positives to come out of this game. I don't want to say that everything's negative. Again, Vladdy, 2 for 5. Turner, 2 for 2. Horwitz, like we said, 2 home run ball game. There's good things that come out of some of these baseball games, and we don't want to make it seem like we're only looking for negatives, but right now it doesn't matter what you do unless you put a win in the score in the win column here. And it's tough coming off of a weekend where, don't get me wrong, Carter, it was a long weekend. I'm dead. Like, I am absolutely mentally drained from this weekend, and physically as well. And I think so are you, physically drained. And we come on the podcast, and if we're sort of discussing beforehand a little bit, like, hey, what do you want to get into? And there's only one thing, and the one thing is the sweep. And it's tough to come out with any type of positives right now. This is just a bad time to be a Blue Jays fan, obviously.
Yeah, there was a lot of good defensive plays in this game, but again, like, I'm kind of done with just talking about the defense here. Like, George Springer had a huge diving catch that saves 2 runs. Spencer Horwitz had a disgusting diving catch in the 6th inning off of a Jose Ramirez ball that was smacked up the second base side. Makes a diving catch, or diving play, I guess I should say. Throws it over to first base. Vladdy, another huge defensive play. But then Vladdy in the 9th inning, I mean, you look at this guy's at bat, it was one of the worst things I think I've ever seen. Like, he's swinging at junk. Like, Clase made just the quickest work of all time against this guy. And again, a guy that just continues to be in our minds, George Springer. Like, these at-bats are ridiculously bad. Like, it's actually getting painful to watch. It's been painful to watch this entire season when you're looking at George Springer. And again, what does George Springer do in a big spot in the 9th inning against Clase? He hits a ground ball straight to the shortstop. Like, it's just classic with this guy. I want to go over a stat, because obviously on Friday we went over the article. John Schneider said George Springer is getting very close to getting hot. So since that article has been released, George Springer is 1 for 12 with a double, 5 Ks, and 1 walk. That's an average of 0.83. Yeah, he's you know what? Good job, George Springer. That's your one hit. You're batting 8-3. Like, you look really good. You look in mid-season form, obviously. A guy who's hitting 194. Again, we'll get into the lineup stuff later, but he's hitting 5 in the Jays lineup, 4 on Saturday, which was absolutely insane. You have a guy hitting 194 in your 4 spot. I don't know what John Schneider's thinking. Clearly, they have no idea what to do with George Springer, and the best thing to do would be just George Springer. I don't care how good you are defensively. Sit on the bench. I'm sick of seeing it. Your at-bats are terrible. Kevin Kiermaier, just terrible at-bats. 2 players that simply should not be hitting in this Toronto Blue Jays lineup right now.
No, you're bang on. This is exactly what we said. I think it was Thursday's episode, maybe Friday's episode. I can't remember. When this article came out, it's just like, it's complete brain rot. It's complete a smack in the face to Blue Jays fans, because we are watching and knowing what's going on here, and we continue to get screwed over, and they sort of treat Blue Jays fans right now like we don't know how baseball works. And yet you watch the game and you go over the stat that you just said, and it's terrible. There's zero direction to this baseball team, and I don't know if they're going to find one before the season comes to an end. And I fully believe that this is just might end up being one of those throwaway seasons that, you know, the fans hate to still watch, but we're going to, because we're Blue Jays fans like that, and we're going to support the team. But man, it's getting very, very hard to right now.
Well, and just like again, we'll go into Ernie Clement here quick, and then I'll probably take a break after this. You just the mismanagement of Ernie Clement. The guy's hitting 700, and then you just don't play him for 3-4 games, and then look what happens. He falls off because he's not playing baseball. Well, that's it. Kevin Kiermaier is really hot at bat in the lineup to hit 9, who just has some of the worst at bats I've ever seen. I think George Springer is actually having better at bats than Kevin Kiermaier as of late, which is just unfathomable. But like looking at the lineup from today. Like IKF hitting at 1, I'm okay with that, honestly. But George Springer at 5, and you have Addison Barger, Danny Jansen, David Schneider hitting 8. I know David Schneider struggled a little bit recently, but at least he's hitting home runs. At least he still is hitting for power, coming up with clutch hits. George Springer, all he does in clutch scenarios is roll over and ground into either outs, double plays, whatever you want to call it. With game 1, he has a huge spot in the top of the 9th inning, bases loaded. Rolls over to the shortstop, double play ball. See you later. The Jays pack it up. It's one of those things, just absolutely insane. And we have to keep talking about it because it keeps happening. And I don't like it is so frustrating to watch. Maybe we got to get on Orelvis Martinez's side here and just start taking drugs to watch this and deal with this Toronto Blue Jays game because mentally I'm so drained just even from the weekend. But then you have to talk about Toronto Blue Jays baseball. That's just terrible and just idiotic decisions from John Schneider and this front office. We sound like broken records on this podcast, but it's just continuing to happen over and over and over again. So we're going to have to talk about it. They're giving us fuel for the fire for our negative Blue Jays talk, and we just simply have to roll with that from what we're seeing on the field.
Yeah, Carter. I don't know. There's so much to go over. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back because there's just too much stuff to not cover it. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. As you guys all know, I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down in NHL and NBA, we get fewer games. And the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets at any time I'm in the mood. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That is awesome to hear. I love them. I usually end up hammering those because they are the most fun. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to fanduel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball.
Today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play fantasy sports because it's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling against thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Prize Picks is very simple to play. I can make my picks and submit my entries in as little as 60 seconds. So with the Stanley Cup Finals, Game 7, the Toronto Blue Jays, I have a ton of picks for you guys today. I'm continuing my trend of being horny for Spencer Horwitz because this guy is raking. He's doing damage at the plate. So I have him more than 1.5 bases, also more than 1.5 hits. And Justin Turner has started to pick it up a little bit here. So I got to go with the trend of riding the hot hand. I have him more than 1.5 bases as well. So I have some Stanley Cup Finals picks here as well. Since Game 7, definitely going to be watching that game. You got to go with Connor McDavid. You got to think he's going to show up in a big moment. I have him more than 1.5 points. Zach Hyman, the human backboard, I got him more than half a goal. And then Evan Bouchard, more than half an assist. If you know which players are going to perform on specific nights, this is a no-brainer. Download Prize Picks and start making your picks today. So you can download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit matchup to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit matchup to $100.
So, a ton more to get into, Carter. I want to continue sort of on this sweep before we get into sort of the series preview and whatever else. I think we just got to talk about the lineups a little bit more, Carter. I think that's such a big topic right now because we've been beating the same drum for what feels like years, but it's been a couple months, is that it's just poor management. And I don't know. At some point, Carter, I feel like the shoe is going to drop and John Schneider is going to be out of a job. I don't honestly know how they haven't made some type of move yet. And maybe they're waiting for a big losing streak to pull the trigger on something like this. But we're there. This is the big losing streak, and it could maybe only get worse, which we will go over. But the managerial decisions are just terrible. We can't keep going about baseball games like this. It just can't happen. The Blue Jays can't continue to lose baseball games and be playing as a losing record. This team has the 8th highest salary in Major League Baseball, and they do not play like it. They play like they have the 29th highest salary in the baseball. And maybe that's because a lot of our salary is going to guys that just aren't producing, like Bo Bichette and obviously George Springer and Kevin Kiermaier. It's painful to see because the rookies and the young guys are the only guys that seeming to be doing anything. And yeah, Vlad's here and there, but he's not super consistent. He doesn't have the power. And yeah, it was great. We saw a home run from him the other day, but it's not consistent enough. I don't know, Carter. Do you think that John Schneider gets the rug pulled out from underneath him, and maybe he gets a call from Atkins that he's done this season? Like, is that a possibility, or do you think that they're just going to stand pat?
I think there's no way Ross Atkins pulls the rug underneath John Schneider. If he fires John Schneider, that'd be his third manager being gone. He's just pretty much writing his own death wish at this point. He's going to try to ride it out, unfortunately for us Blue Jays fans. But just going back into some of these managerial decisions, like I know on Saturday we were together. We had our beer Olympics, whatever it was. But I looked at the lineup. I'm like, oh my God, he did it again. It got worse somehow. And I couldn't even say words. I just showed him the screen. And George Springer hitting 4, Alejandro Kirk just being in the lineup. You're hitting a mate, but just whatever. Terrible at bats for him as well. Kevin Kiermaier being in the lineup. You had David Schneider hitting 6, a little bit lower. IKF at 1. Again, I don't hate that. IKF's been one of the best hitters so far this season. On that Saturday game, he had a multiple home run game. So I think that worked out pretty well for the Toronto Blue Jays. Again, going back to Spencer Horwitz's game 3, he's hitting 2 in the lineup. He had 2 home runs in that game 3. Spencer Horwitz is a guy that you got to keep in the lineup every single day. But knowing John Schneider, you see a 2 home run performance, and I think it was a 2 walk performance from Spencer Horwitz. That means that's the most typical. Spencer Horwitz is not going to be playing in the first baseball game against the Boston Red Sox because John Schneider literally has no idea what he is doing. So I went over this off camera with you, obviously, and I just want to find this John Schneider quote I had. It's the most typical John Schneider thing of all time because he's just pretty much gaslighting Toronto Blue Jays fans at this point with what he is saying about this team. So John Schneider says, my tone would be different if it was a lack of effort or lack of prep. It's a tough stretch. I'm proud of the way they're fighting through this tough time. Fighting, there's not a pulse. There's no pulse at all. I guess you could sort of say in game 3, but you were 0-6. You've been absolutely dog walked in 6 straight games. You've been swept for twice back-to-back in this season. The first time getting swept at all this season has happened the last week, and it's happened twice back-to-back. It's just absolutely insane. I went over a Ross Atkins interview because I was expecting him to kind of have the same thing as John Schneider here. But this was the first time I think I've seen Ross Atkins take any sort of accountability for this entire season. So he said, frustrated, disappointed. I'm the most accountable for that. I don't feel disappointed towards individuals other than myself. Thank God. Finally, some accountability from this management. Ross Atkins just simply did not put together a good enough team, a good enough offensive team for this team to do anything. It's been showing. You said Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hasn't been consistent. I don't think this is Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s fault at all. He had a 2 home runs weekend. He's hitting 280 on the season. I think George Springer just being in the lineup is what's hurting you. Obviously, some inconsistencies from Justin Turner. He's been completely up and down the season. Has been a lot better as of late. I think he's hitting about 265 or 365, over his last 15 games. Has been a lot better, but you need consistency from this lineup. When you have Ernie Clement raking and then you take him out, I know I've said that already on this podcast, but it just doesn't make any sense to throw in guys like Kevin Kiermaier, who doesn't matter if he's playing every single day or he's playing once a week. He's going to have the same caliber at bats no matter what. I'm sick of the defense part at this point. You need people to hit the baseball. Orelvis Martinez was supposed to be the answer. Obviously can't be now. Addison Barger should be in this lineup constantly. Spencer Horwitz should never miss a game. David Schneider should never miss a game. I know he's struggling a little bit right now, but he's still providing you with that power. IKF should never miss a game. I'm sick of this rotational stuff at this point. I know you have to put these players in once in a while, but Kevin Kiermaier should maybe be playing once a week at this point. You should just have a Bradley Zimmer role, maybe a pinch run him sometimes. Maybe you put him as a defensive replacement. I can't watch Kevin Kiermaier play baseball anymore. I can't watch George Springer roll over every single at-bat anymore. And you have him hitting 5, 4, and then 5 in the 3-game stretch over this series. Why? What are you seeing that is making George Springer I want to throw him as a cleanup hitter? That makes perfect sense in my head. It blows my mind on some of the managerial decisions John Schneider makes. And he's protected by Ross Atkins because he doesn't want to lose his job and his spot as the GM for this team. And it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better because with this management, with this front office, the Blue Jays aren't going to be able to do anything whatsoever, whether it's the playoffs, whether it's having any sort of success in this season. So we're just kind of have to wait until the bell starts ringing and Ross Atkins is finally fired over a long overdue stretch of just mediocre Toronto Blue Jays baseball.
Yeah, Carter, and I don't know. You touched on a lot of things there. But the biggest thing that I take away from all of this, because we've been knowing that there's been a lineup issues. This isn't anything new to Blue Jays fans. This isn't some shocking revelation. We all know what's going on. I think the most disappointing part of this for me is that I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel at all. I don't see Ross Atkins getting fired or John Schneider getting fired before the end of the season. So does that mean that we're stuck all in hell for the next 4 months until the season ends, and finally something will happen afterwards? But they're just going to say we're not going to solve anything right now, so screw it. Let's just this season's done. Is that the point we're at? If no moves are made, nothing's done. There's no decision, and I honestly believe that Ross Atkins and John Schneider both need to go. If neither of those happen during mid-season, this feels like a complete slap in the face to Blue Jays fans, and that, hey, this season's going to suck, and you guys got to deal with it, and maybe we'll try to fix something in the offseason.
Yeah, like I'm almost at the point where I think I want the Blue Jays to lose another like 5 straight, because then maybe John Schneider and Ross Atkins actually get fired, because I don't know what it's going to take, but this team is going to move way farther backward than they are forward with this management in place. So looking at this season, like you should sell Yusei Kikuchi at the deadline. I want to keep Danny Jansen. If you can get a good haul for him, I think at this point you might have to do that, unfortunately. That would mean Alejandro Kirk is your primary catcher, and I don't know if I'm ready for that conversation yet. So I'm hoping Danny Jansen can stay with the team. But Yimi Garcia is another guy you're going to have to try to sell off. Justin Turner probably still has some value. Probably going to have to try to sell him off. If you can get Kevin Kiermaier traded, I think you have to do that at this point as well. Kevin Kiermaier does still have some value. He's just been absolutely laughable at the plate. But for a team that isn't struggling as drastically as the Toronto Blue Jays offense is, Kevin Kiermaier definitely still has some value as well. But yeah, this team is definitely going to move, like I said, farther backwards and forwards. There's no light at the end of the tunnel for me. At this point, I want to see IKF playing. Daulton Varsho, our best player, had a back injury on Saturday's game as well. So just continuing the roll with the punches, I guess, and just negative Blue Jays talk, because Daulton Varsho is leading the team in home runs. I think he's top in RBIs. He's top in defensive run saved in the league. Such a valuable player to this team. You don't have Daulton Varsho in the lineup. That is a huge win player. That's adding a ton of win probability to every single game he plays that you won't have in this lineup. But the Toronto Blue Jays have no direction. I'm just going to kind of leave it at that. I think everyone that is listening to this podcast, watching Toronto Blue Jays games, know that I think at this point it's a pretty lost season. I'll go over a quick stat just to kind of sum this up. So the Toronto Blue Jays, I believe, are 35-42 on the season now. So the Toronto Blue Jays, to get to 90 wins from this point right now, they have to go 55-30 to get to 90 wins. This team can't even put together like back-to-back series wins. They would have to do that for the rest of the season, this entirety of the time. We still have to play the Atlanta Braves, the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Yankees are coming to town soon. The Baltimore Orioles are obviously another team we're going to have to play. It's not going to get easier. And with this offense, like, again, I'll go into another stat line here. It's just about how the Blue Jays are hitting in the month of June. I just got to find it here. I'll throw it back to you while I'm looking for it. Just, is there any positives that you can spin on this team? Do you see this team having any sort of success for the rest of the season with this lineup and this roster construction?
No, flat out no. There, like I said before, and we've touched on this a little bit. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. There is no flicker of hope. There's no match being lit in the darkness. There's nothing. There's no hope. Yes, Spencer Horwitz, fun to watch him play baseball. Davis Schneider, it's fun to watch that guy play baseball. Ernie Clement, when he's hot, is fun to watch play baseball. But it's not enough. There's not enough stars playing like stars. And like we said at the beginning of this season, you need your stars to play like stars to win baseball games at the end of the day. And yeah, Vladdy's having a good season, but he's not hitting home runs like we need him to. Bichette might be dropped off the face of the earth. I don't even know at this point. It's tough to watch. George Springer is lost. There's no positivity from me. And I think every Blue Jays fan understands where I'm coming from right now, and yourself, in the sense that we get on here every day and talk about this, and it's hard to bring positivity every time. And when there's nothing to pull from, I don't know.
Yeah, I think like with Vladdy, the power numbers are tough, but there's so many other things wrong with this team right now that like with
Yeah,
Vladdy, it
absolutely.
kind of just is what it is at this point. I'm going to go on a little bit of a yap session here. I'm going to try to kind of wrap up a lot of the thoughts I have about just this overall weekend series. But I'm going to start here. The Toronto Blue Jays hitting stats in June. They have 14 home runs, 146 hits, 45 extra base hits, which ranks as 26th in the MLB, 66 runs, which ranks as 28th in the MLB. And just for reference, there's 30 MLB teams. So this is not somewhere you want to be. A 226 average over that span, which is 23rd in the MLB, a 289 on base percentage, 28th in the MLB, a .631 OPS, 27th in the MLB. Like these offensive numbers just simply aren't going to get it done. Another thing that's going to kind of be a little bit sporadic here. I'm kind of going to jump all over the place, but there's again always so much to talk about over a weekend series. Unfortunately, it's all pretty negative. Jose Berrios, this guy's just giving up crazy amounts of long balls. He doesn't really give up hard contact ever. Like most of the time, obviously there are instances where the ball is launched into orbit with Jose Berrios. Again, just giving up solo shots, hard contact, home runs, stuff like that. Again, Jose Berrios, when he struggles, he's working over the middle of the plate. You can't work over the middle plate against any MLB team at that. And when you have the Cleveland Guardians with people raking, that's definitely not a game you want to play. Spencer Horwitz, I got to hold this guy a little bit accountable. In game 2, he gets picked off. Again, you have struggled so much to get base runners here. I'm going to give him a little bit of a break, but you simply just can't get picked off in that situation. So again, you're looking at game 2, not a lot of good things to take away from it. This whole weekend, not a lot of good things to take away from it. When you lose a series, you get swept again in a series. You can't really have much positive things to say about this. But again, I'm going to go into the game 1 here, and it's pretty much just about Yariel Rodriguez. There's just way too many walks, man. The command issues, again, the pitching was really the problem this weekend for me. The offense obviously has to be better, but you get 9 runs in 3 games. I mean, that's just typical for the Toronto Blue Jays. But Yariel Rodriguez only goes an inning and a third, has a million walks, just can't seem to get it done. Bowden Francis comes in, tries to kind of help him out, but again, you give up 6 runs in an inning. That's just never going to get it done. The Blue Jays are the first team to have 70 pitches thrown in an inning since the 2014 Detroit Tigers. That you're not going to win baseball games if you're throwing 70 pitches in 1 inning. Vladimir
Carter, just a quick thing to touch on there with the pitching wise, just because I forgot about it. I wanted to bring it up. When I'm looking back over this weekend, the past 2 series, the pitching has not been good. And you're 100% right. But at the end of the day, I'm thinking, how tough is it mentally for these pitchers to go into ball games, give it all you got, and then still lose the ball game? I think after half of a season or however long, it gets very, very mentally taxing for these guys. So as much as yes, the pitching wasn't good, there's no help. There's zero help. So for these guys to step up on the mound every day and expect them, we have to expect that they pitch the lights out to get an inkling of a win, a thought of a win. I think this is just really draining on them as well. I think this is a product of bad offense, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I hope the Toronto Blue Jays have a very good therapy system for their front office, for just everyone, honestly, the players, the pitching staff. The pitching staff just going through a mental blender right now. Like Kevin Gausman's come out and said he has to be perfect for the Toronto Blue Jays to win. All this pitching staff has to be perfect, and it's nice to see that from someone within the organization with all the BS that Ross Atkins, John Schneider spew all the time. So it's nice that Kevin Gausman is keeping it real. But yeah, it's definitely mentally draining going out there and having to think that you have to be perfect every single time. Like these starts do happen. Jose Berrios can't be his 6 innings pitch, 2 earned runs every single time out there. There are blow up starts. There are times that you're not going to have your stuff. So I'm definitely not blaming Jose Berrios for this season overall. It's just this game wasn't that good. It happens. It is what it is. But one thing I want to go over, it's 7-0. It's Vladimir Guerrero Jr. It's high, it's deep, and it's gone. Huge home run for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. cutting the deficit to 7-1. Again, home run, solo shot. I don't really care. It's nice to see him hit home runs. That was a great swing on a pitch that was like a foot inside, just turned on it. Vladdy should be doing those pull side home runs. If he can start turning on pitches, that's where he's going to hit his power. It's a lot easier to hit a home run to the left side of the field, especially as a right-handed hitter, than trying to hit it to dead center where it's like 400 feet compared to like 330 at the left field foul pole. But other than that, I mean, yeah, just this team, Jay's team just doesn't seem to make big plays and big moments. Bowden Francis has a play from Orelvis Martinez to try to prevent 2 runs in that first game. drops the ball, 2 runs, come back to score. Good teams make those plays. It wasn't that hard of a play. Again, you're already in a bad spot in that point of the game. You're already down 4-0. You're having one of the longest innings of all time. It seems like that inning, it might as well have been its own baseball game, how long that inning took for the Toronto Blue Jays. But yeah, just to sum things up, this terrible series, last 7 days have been absolutely horrific. Again, you think it can't get worse. It just continues to get worse. Orelvis Martinez, PEDs, Daulton Varsho injury, just so many bad things to happen all at once. It's tough to go on this podcast and try to spin zone anything positively when there's just like you're 0-6 in your last 6 games. It's just simple as that. We always say on this podcast, we're tired of the small victories. Nice to see Spencer Horwitz raking. It's nice to see some of these young guys playing, but overall, just a terrible weekend from Toronto Blue Jays baseball. So we got a series to preview. We got the Boston Red Sox again, the team that started this torment, I guess you could say. Another 3-game set. Again, when I'm usually fairly optimistic about the Toronto Blue Jays, but I think when I'm at the point where I kind of want to see the Toronto Blue Jays get swept again, so hopefully there's a change in the front office. We're in a bad spot in Toronto Blue Jays baseball land. But saying that, I want to throw it over to the Locked On 24/7 streaming channel, Locked On Sports Today, or the Amazon Fire TV's channel app. Whatever is more convenient for you, sports other than baseball that you probably want to watch and actually have maybe a little bit more fun watching at this point in the season, head over there for expert analysis, great content over on that channel. Maybe you'll see us over there as well. But yeah, we're going to go into the Boston Red Sox series and hopefully some more positive spin zones, but I haven't really got much for you, unfortunately. But we'll get into all that coming up. This episode is also sponsored by Supply House. SupplyHouse.com is the most reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the experts and the friendliest folks in the business, and you talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trade can get you a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com.
So, Carter, we got a series to preview. Rough weekend overall, right? For us. I mean, I know your team won the Beer Olympics. Congratulations. I want to say that publicly. I think our team put up a good fight until, a couple people almost died. Fun weekend, though. It was a good time. We got a bunch of people together that we don't see necessarily too often. And we got asked a lot about the Blue Jays. Of course, everywhere we go now, it's so then Blue Jays. And the answer is, yep, those Blue Jays. But it was a good time. We really did have fun. Everybody that played with us, it was great. We got some slow pitch coming up this week. 2 games, I believe. I think we're going to try to get in a round of golf. Shot my best to score of the year today or yesterday out golfing. That was good. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to just waste time so that I don't have to talk about Toronto Blue Jays baseball. So we got the series, Carter. I just want to know before we get into the pitching matchups, can we see a win?
Yeah, maybe we need not even a series win, just a win in general, because this has just been terrible. It's been a bad stretch. Again, like I don't know what I want to happen in this series. Even if they somehow sweep the Boston Red Sox, I mean, it's 4 games below 500. Like they just shot themselves in the foot completely with the brand of baseball they've been playing over these last couple of weeks. But saying that, the pitching matchups, for me, it says to be determined. But I mean, I've been watching Blue Jays baseball. I can pretty much figure out who's going to pitch. So it's Tanner Houck versus Chris Bassitt. Tanner Houck's been really good at 2.14 ERA. Obviously saw him in the first series. Then we have Brayan Bello, a guy that I don't think is that good, but had his best start of the season against the Toronto Blue Jays. Again, like it seems like pitchers are having their career days every single time you play the Toronto Blue Jays. It's usually not a good sign for your offense. That should be against Kevin Gausman. And then you have Cutter Crawford, a guy we haven't seen yet. He's been pretty good, 3.59 ERA, somehow 3-7. Just one of those unfortunate stat lines. That's why win-loss records don't matter in baseball. And that should be against Yariel Rodriguez. If you feel like you want to trot him out again after that start, definitely wasn't the best thing. So it'll probably be like a Bowden Francis, Yariel Rodriguez split there. I don't know what I want.
It has been confirmed that it is Yariel.
I don't know what I want from the series. I honestly don't. I think it's either again, like I can't say sweep because it's just not going to happen. You can't even win a game in this last week stretch here. So what's probably going to happen is I think they'll take one. Somehow it'll be against Tyler Houck. It'll probably be like a 2-1 game because Chris Bassitt just absolutely shoves and pitches. Just unbelievable. Given the only way the Blue Jays win baseball games, probably going to lose the next 2. They're probably going to score 5 runs. Spencer Horwitz probably will only play 1 game in the series. That's just how the Toronto Blue Jays season is going at this point.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. That's exactly what I feel is going to happen. I feel like game 2 should be the game that they win, and they'll lose that one, and they'll get destroyed. And they'll somehow win game 1, set us up and think, wow, this is going to go really well, and then it all comes crashing down the next 2 games. I don't know. For some reason, I feel like we're going to see George Springer play every one of these games, hitting 4 or 5. IKF, hopefully I don't know, like if they keep him at the top of the order, he's been doing pretty well. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I want to see happen. I feel like, at this point, let's see them get swept 2 more times, and hopefully John Schneider and Ross Atkins get the boot. But I don't think that's going to happen anyway. So I don't know what to think.
Yeah, I'm at the point in the season where I can't really be optimistic about the Toronto Blue Jays. They got to earn my respect back at this point. I guess just take this opportunity to look at other positives in your life, look at your friends, look at your family, maybe that lottery ticket, maybe you win $20 off a scratcher or something like that, whatever it is, because there's not a lot of positives to find in Toronto Blue Jays baseball. Yeah, you can watch Spencer Horwitz rake. Hopefully David Schneider keeps up his pace and can start hitting some home runs again. Just the young guns, nice to see them play. But other than that, I mean, you kind of just have to take what the Blue Jays are presenting you at face value at this point. I think this has been like an awakening for me. I finally kind of realized what Toronto Blue Jays baseball is over this last little stretch here. So hopefully it does get better. I do want it to get better, obviously. Hopefully George Springer can turn it around. I don't really see that happening. Hopefully Kevin Kiermaier can have just better at bats. I don't need this guy hitting 300. I just don't want him to make me want to pull my hair out every single time I see him at the plate. But saying that, thank you guys for watching. We appreciate you guys riding along with us at this point, even though it's pretty much been hell week, to say the least, about this Toronto Blue Jays baseball team. We have noticed that about 70% of you guys are not subscribed. If you're coming back, watching the videos and the podcast all the time, we appreciate a subscription. Helps us out a ton, keeps our videos at the top of your page. We've been posting. We took this little bit of a weekend off from real stuff like that because I just watched that Friday night game. And it just took the entire life out of me about Toronto Blue Jays baseball. Still watching the games, but I took a little bit of a step back from the content side. I'm going to try to have a reel out for this episode here, just an overall kind of like encapsulation of the weekend, I guess. Brayden, you got any other positives to add? I guess I'll add this as well. Locked On 24/7 streaming channel, Locked On Sports Today, Amazon Fire TV channel app. You already know the whole spiel there. Check out expert analysis. I'm sick. I'm sick of watching Toronto Blue Jays baseball. I was going to take a weekend off from watching baseball, but again, the Toronto Blue Jays, no matter how bad they're playing, they always pull me back in. I have to watch these baseball games, even though it is very muchly impacting my mental health. I don't know where to go. I don't know what happiness is anymore. I don't know what hope feels like. Just all the bad emotions all dropping down on me all at once.
Oh yeah, I'm severely depressed. Yeah. I said last episode, I said, if I still see George Springer playing wherever, you can bury me 6 feet deep. I've dug the grave. I've dug my own grave, Carter. I'm just waiting for somebody to throw me into it.
See, I think I'll end it like this. Here's the fix to George Springer. So if you guys are degenerates like us, you probably know what dizzy bat is. It looks like George Springer is doing dizzy bats anyway before he gets up to the plate. Maybe he just does 10 spins between every single pitch, goes up there, closes his eyes, and just takes the biggest daddy hack of all time. He might have more success than his 194 on the season. And I think it would be a lot more fun to watch as well if George Springer just dizzy, falling all over the place, at least provide a little bit of entertainment for the fans at this point. But we're going to end at that. I mean, the Blue Jays, if they've ever been on the suck bus, this is the suck bus. Epitome of the suck bus. George Springer loves the suck bus. Kevin Kiermaier loves the suck bus. John Schneider is driving the suck bus with Ross Atkins probably sitting on his lap at this point. But I'm just going to leave it there. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully it gets better. Probably won't, but we'll talk to you guys again tomorrow.